104.7 The Cave. KKLH, Marshfield, Springfield. A proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs radio network.
Touchdown, Kansas City!
Now, it's time for Ned Talk.
Ned, how are you today? You can turn off your heat rock starting tomorrow, right?
Not until it's 81.
Well, it's supposed to be quite warm tomorrow, so you can crawl out from underneath your heat lamp and your heat rock.
Not until it's 81.
Okay. All right. Well, it is just about the end of January. It's right there. February is about to roll over, and we're talking football. The Chiefs are still alive, and they play in the AFC Championship game today right here on 104.7 The Cave. A little bit later on this afternoon, I'm Joe Westen. That's Ned Reynolds, Alex Scott, Jake Gillette, Josh Roberts. Full house today as we get set for this big game. So let's start right kind of where we left off last week and talk about the Chiefs and the Bills. Ned, what did your eyes tell you?
The game was a whole lot more dominant by Kansas City than the final score would indicate.
Agreed. Yeah.
And in regards to that didn't surprise me too much because I really felt like Buffalo had injury problems that were going to come back and haunt them, especially in the defensive backfield. Still, when Bass had that field goal lined up and did not hit it, I thought the stars are aligned for Kansas City. They have to be right here. And to the Chiefs' credit, they did play very well. Dominant factor, you had Josh Allen. I don't know how many realize Josh Allen's a huge individual. He's about 6'6" and about 235, 240, 245. He runs with a lot of power. Different from Lamar Jackson, who they will face today. Much different skill set and a different mindset to how the game should be operated. That's why I think today's game is going to be very fascinating as to how the Chiefs defend it.
Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, your local live sports talk show. Alex Scott with us today. Alec, did you watch the game and what did you think?
I did watch the game. To Josh Allen, it's funny that the Buffalo Bills quarterback is an actual Buffalo because that man is huge and very freakishly athletic for his size. But, we talked about the injuries on Buffalo's defense, and they showed up. There were a handful of wide-open throws that the Chiefs were able to connect on. You could just tell these guys don't have a bunch of time on task. That secondary is not gelling together, and they were just man down. I thought looking at both those teams, they were trying to do very similar things, run the ball well, protect their quarterback. Both succeeded at it. I do personally believe even if Bass makes that kick, the Chiefs were going to go down and score. The Buffalo defense was gassed. They didn't look like they could have made a stop. I think the game was lost on the play that Chris Jones made that would have been a touchdown pass. But I think the right throw, Diggs was open on a crosser that would have been a first down and clock running. And I think that was the throw to win the game because they keep possession, they burn a timeout, and they try and score with no time left because Kansas City has shown over and over again, leave them any amount of time and they can make it happen.
Yep.
But, a much different task today. This team is not facing the same injury issues that Buffalo was and coming in feeling much better about themselves, I imagine, than what Buffalo was.
Jake, you're joining us today, and aside from a freakish fumble through the end zone, that should have been a dominant Kansas City performance and a dominant score.
That was going to be game over. McCall Harbin, he needs to remember there's only two reasons you try to do what he did, a 2-point conversion or 4th and goal. That was first down. He tried to reach, and McCall has proven this year that he keeps trying to do more than the rest of the team, and it's a team game. So that was good. If he makes that, he gets in the end zone, or we would have gotten the end zone because Pacheco would have pounded in on second down. That game would have been over. Of course, the Chiefs love to make a drama-filled, full football game down to the wire. And if you remember, Bass had 2 kicks that just snuck in that right upright. And I was like, oh, my goodness. And my daughter who's with us today, I walked the block. I couldn't. I was so upset knowing that the Chiefs were going to just hand this over to the Bills after playing a pretty flawless game. We had 0 drops that were actually like real catches. And so the Chiefs are going to have to play even better today. They are playing, as you said, Alex, that this team is healthy, and that's the first time the Baltimore Ravens have been this good with Lamar Jackson, and we have a full plate today.
Josh, you had to be happy because you've been screaming on the radio all year long, run the football, run the football.
This game was exactly what I have wanted the Chiefs to do in order to dominate a football game. Isaiah Pacheco He is a violent running back. He punishes the defense with his runs. And they did that in that game. And that I think made the biggest difference because that sets up all these tricky pass plays and cutesy plays they want to do because they're ahead of the sticks. The defense showed up like they've been showing up. I'm a little concerned. It seemed like Chris Jones was a little hobbled by the end of the game, but that may have just been tiredness and just the general wear and tear. I don't think anybody – well, I guess Pacheco might be questionable today.
He is questionable, and in the case of Jones, it's that nagging groin injury. He's had it for years, not just this year. Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, they played a great game. They did make it closer than it needed to be, but – yeah, I mean, I was satisfied. I like to see Pacheco getting 5, 6, 8 yards a carry.
Well, we mentioned over the last couple of weeks, we have this really nifty new device called a texting app, and you can text us at 417-863-7104, and it shows up right here on my screen so we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. If you've got a comment or suggestion or whatever, then hit us up there again. It's 417-863-7104 for your text. Please put your name on those, and please be nice. Now, the team that's going into this game banged up today, Ned, is the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a 4-1. They've got 4 players that are questionable, might not play today. Joe Thuney, I think, is the biggest name on that list because important lineman. Right
he
there.
isn't questionable. He is out. He will not play. The others, when you list them as questionable, look at the status of the game, and they will play. I know you'll see Pacheco in there, and you'll see all the others who are, even including the Willie Gay, who has that neck injury, and they do need him in that lineup. But the fact is that, Kansas City perhaps is hobbled to some extent. Kind of a reversal of form here, but over and above that, I think what bothers me more than anything else is that I haven't seen one of the alleged pundits in the country, not one, who has picked the Chiefs to win this thing. It's all Baltimore. Well, Baltimore's a good team. They're a very good football team, but so is Kansas City. I think it'll be a hell of a game. I really do.
Yeah, pretty exciting to see this. Now, I will tell you this, too. Kadarius Toney, no surprise. He's out. He's not playing.
He had a baby.
Yeah.
That's nagging hip injury?
He has a baby.
Well, it's hip injury, and also it was listed as personal this week.
Here's a prediction, guys. He has seen it with the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I don't think he wears a uniform again.
I'd agree with that.
Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, your local live sports talk show. We're getting you set for the Chiefs and the Ravens this afternoon right here on 104.7 The Cave, where we're home for the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about this Baltimore Ravens team, and we'll switch to our what division are they in?
AFC North.
AFC North. Okay, switch over to Alec there for you, Ned. We're having to toss around the microphones. Alec is our resident AFC North expert because he is a Steelers fan. Don't boo him, but. So you've seen the Ravens. You've seen the Ravens twice this year. Your Steelers beat them
twice.
So
Exactly.
what's it going to take for the Chiefs to beat them today?
Well, for us, it took one, Lamar not playing in one of those games, and that's not going to happen for Kansas City today. The second one, when the Steelers beat Baltimore early in the year, we have a history of playing tough against Baltimore. We forced turnovers out of Jackson. It's going to take that. I will say in that game, though, Baltimore pulled a Kansas City and it was either 6 or 7 dropped passes, and that Lamar played well. That game was there for Baltimore to win, and they let it slip away. But, to win a division like Baltimore did, the AFC North had 4 teams with winning records. You could definitely argue it's the best division in the NFL, top to bottom right now. And for them to come out of it still with the 1 seed means that they played consistently good football, and they played their best against good teams. You'll remember they smoked Detroit. They smoked San Francisco. The 2 teams playing in the NFC side, they beat both of them by 20+. They've been at their best against the best, but they've never been on this big a stage with Lamar at quarterback. So I think the big thing to see today is the moment too bright for him, because we know it's not going to be for the Chiefs, because this is, their 6th year in a row playing in this game.
Yep.
They being on the road's not going to matter to them too much. I will say, though, in Baltimore last week, that first quarter I saw, I think, 3 false starts and a delay of game against Houston. That crowd's going to be ready to go. And that's going to be an issue for Kansas City, especially when you're down Tooney up the middle like that. That's a big piece that could be a big loss today.
Nick Algretti will fill in that spot today. He's very capable. So
Yes, he is.
not Joe Tooney, but he's very capable. Jake, what's your thoughts? What do you think about today's game?
Here's what I think. So we know what we're getting with Pat Mahomes, 100%. We don't know what we're going to get from Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson won his first playoff game ever last week. Second?
He was 1-3.
But he's known for choking in the big game. The guy has never made it to this stage, the AFC Championship game, and the Chiefs are on their 6th one. So we have experience over a team that is playing really well and on the road. So it's going to take, like I said, a pretty flawless game. If our receivers catch the ball like they did last week, which they had literally 0 that were perfectly catchable passes, and the turnover game too, like you said, if it takes us getting to Lamar, turn the ball, and then controlling him as a running back, because that is his first option, is to run. This is the first year I've ever seen Jackson throw the ball so well. He actually worked on that, obviously you can tell. So they got some good wide receivers, some depth there, and some experience as well. It's going to be a great game, but it's going to take our best to
Can I offer just a thought here? I'm
Sure.
playing devil's advocate because I do not feel that home field advantage is all that significant when it gets down to this level. But Chiefs won all those playoff games at home. Baltimore, while they are at home in this one, and while Lamar Jackson does not have a great history, as Alec pointed out, he does choke. Not going to happen now. He's been around too long. He'll play with full confidence. It's going to come down to the talent level between these two and the difference in the attack. And Baltimore will run and run and run some more. Even though they have Mark Andrews back, they'll still run the ball. There's the key.
They're an old school football team, Josh. I mean, they are hard-nosed defense. They are hard-nosed offense. There'll be a lot of running. There'll be a lot of Lamar Jackson running. What are the Chiefs out to do to beat this team?
Well, I think it's going to come down to the Chiefs' secondary because I think they're going to have to put 8 in the box. They're going to have a spy on Lamar Jackson. They're going to have to. Their goal is going to have to be to stop the run or suppress the run enough to where Lamar Jackson has to pass, and then they're going to have one-on-one coverage because of that. So the D-backs are the key, I think, for the Chiefs. If they have a great game, if they can shut down those receivers, I think the Chiefs have a great opportunity to win because the Baltimore offense is pretty stacked at this point. And with Lamar Jackson as a legitimate running back threat like he is, I think the reason that he is being so much more successful this year is because he has changed the way that his style. He's not thinking run first anymore. He's looking through his reads, and then he understands, hey, if it comes down to it, I can run for 3 or 4 yards most of the time. So that's the key to me is the Chiefs are going to have to stop him from running and stop the Baltimore running game, and then it's up to the D-backs to make those big plays out in the secondary.
Oh, somebody's texted us. Everything is set, in my opinion, for the Chiefs to go back to the Super Bowl. What's your prediction, Nitwit Ned? That's your old nickname, and that's from Jason, by the way. We'll get to our predictions later in the show when we talk about this. We do our predictions last in the show. That's kind of funny. I have to tell this little story. When we hired Ned to come on the air, I think Mike referred to you as Nitwit Ned on one of the segments, and our old general manager, a guy by the name of Scott Meyer, took Mike aside and sternly spoke to him one day and said, "It's not very nice to call him Nitwit Ned."
Hey guys,
That's,
to clear it's my invention. I gave myself that nickname because of some predictions that I made, which were so damn wrong you couldn't have possibly believed
and
it.
he continues to make damn wrong predictions. All right, let's pretend for a second here that we're all sitting in Baltimore and we're all wearing purple and black and we're Ravens fans. Ned, I don't know what your name would be in Baltimore. I don't know what
Knucklehead Ned.
Knucklehead Ned. What do the Baltimore Ravens have to do to win this game today?
Do exactly what they had. Alec pointed out, this is the most consistent team in pro football. And when they matched up against the 49ers on Christmas night, hey, beat them decisively in San Francisco. Against the Lions, the very same thing. They are such a good team because they are so well balanced. You got Gus Edwards as a running back, and he's a horse, guys. 240, 245, somewhere around there, runs well. Interestingly enough, when you take a look at his record, he played for Miami, the U, for 3 years. And where was his final year? Rutgers. Now, whether or not he was on the same teams with Pacheco, I don't think so. I think he may have one may have followed the other by about a year, but nonetheless, they both played for Rutgers. And Rutgers in the Big Ten has been an also-ran, to say the least.
Yeah.
But the fact is that Gus Edwards is not an also-ran. He is a front-runner and a very tough player. And you have Lamar Jackson. You do have the addition of Andrews back in there after being sidelined since late November. And he, big kid from Oklahoma. Heck, he was a star at OU and will be a star, or has been for the last 6 years with the Ravens as well. If they play the consistent style of football that they have been, they will be very, very difficult to handle.
417-863-7104. That's the number to text us. Please leave your name so that we know who we're answering questions to. Alec, again, you're wearing your purple and your black, and you're a Ravens fan. What do you roll his eyes?
I own purple and I own black, but I don't own any Ravens
Never
gear.
shall they be together.
Yeah. Well, so what do they have to do to beat the Chiefs today? What are you analytically saying about the Ravens and the Chiefs?
I think they watch last week's film and see how Buffalo ran at Kansas City, and that's your answer. Because as good as Kansas City's defense has been, run stopping has been an issue throughout the year. And this is a team that is not afraid to do that, will not give up on it, will keep pressing the run. And, you know, that we saw it last week where Baltimore looked slow out the gate, and then before you knew it, they had 3 touchdown drives of 6 or 7 minutes to start the second half, and all of a sudden the game's almost over, and they're up 3 scores. So they're going to be trying to keep the run going, and as far as their defense is concerned, I really think they're great at getting pressure with 4. So I think that's going to be their look. It's going to be to try and stop Pacheco. They're not going to blitz Mahomes much because that historically is a bad idea. He gets away from it. So they're going to drop back. They're going to try and stop the run. They're going to try and run the ball. And, you know, if any level of that Kansas City team that we saw lose to the Raiders or lose to the Broncos, if any of that rears its ugly head today, they're probably not going to come out of this one because there's not going to be much room for error unless Baltimore flips their script and shows up a bad side. But we haven't seen much out of them. We have seen that a lot out of Kansas City over the course of this season.
Jake, during the season, you heard a lot of teams talked about. You heard Eagles. We've heard 49ers. People talked about the Chiefs, of course, because they're defending champions. Miami, Buffalo. Baltimore's flown under the radar until they got to the playoffs, and then people started to really take notice. This is a very good football team.
Yeah, being where we watch football here in the Midwest, it's either Chiefs or Cowboys, so we don't get to see a lot of that. And they did. You're exactly correct. All of a sudden, about the third week before the end of the year, they're like, well, if this goes out, Ravens are going to be number 1. And we were all like, how in the world did this happen? They lost to the Steelers twice. I've watched them play this year and seen some of the losses they took. But then again, Jackson was hurt and some things. And so I was at the game on September 19th, 2021, when the Chiefs went to Baltimore. I just happened to be in the area. And that crowd, guys, is loud. I'm in a fantasy football league with a bunch of guys from Buffalo, and they're like, oh, Mahomes got to do this silent count. He's not going to be able to handle the pressure. He handled the pressure with ease. Our offensive line did very well. But I will tell you, the offensive line for the Ravens, to me, is way better.
Oh, yeah.
Because if Jackson has time to throw, I'm sorry, but if they are going to stack the box, the Chiefs stacking the box to watch that run, and Lamar has time, he's got quick wide receivers. Even Odell Beckham Jr. knows how to get open, even though he's old. But, man, I will tell you, we have to stop that pass.
Yeah.
We have to.
Josh, I rarely do this, but last night I had 2 dreams. Chiefs got blown out.
Oh.
Do you think that happens today? You're a Ravens homer here now, remember?
Well, as a Ravens homer, if I was a Ravens homer, I would say I hope that happens. And honestly, I feel like if one team was going to blow out the other, there's more of a chance of Baltimore doing that than the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to have to grind it out. They're going to have to hope for some defensive turnovers. They're going to hope that some things fall their way, that the gods smile upon them. I think Baltimore is more in tune to just do their thing, run their offense, keep their defense clicking like it's been clicking. So I feel like there's more pressure on the Chiefs to win, to perform than it is for Baltimore. Because, yes, I do believe that Baltimore could run them out of the stadium if some things go the way that, like what Alec was saying, if they make mistakes like they made against the Raiders and the Broncos, they could get blown out pretty quickly.
All right, you guys can take off your purple and black and burn it right now. Put your red back on.
Okay.
So we get set for the Chiefs and the Ravens this afternoon right here on 104.7 The Cave. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about another football game that's happening today. Yeah, there's two.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, part of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network.
33 minutes away from the start of the Chiefs pregame show right here on 104.7 The Cave. Westwood One carrying the AFC Championship game today for all you Chiefs homers out there. No Mitch Holtis on our broadcast today. It will be the Westwood One broadcast. That is NFL rules. Believe me, we would rather carry Mitch Danon, but NFL rules prevents us from doing that. So sorry, you will have the Westwood One. We do want to bring you the game, so we are doing that this afternoon. Joe Westen, Ned Reynolds, Alex Scott, Jake Gillette, Josh Roberts. We're all in house today, stuffed in this tiny studio. And we're talking about sports, talking about playoffs. We're talking about playoffs. We are. And the other game today, Ned, another fine game. I'm excited to see this one, too.
San Francisco, Detroit, and Detroit, of course, is the fair-haired child of all this. First time they've ever been this far in the playoffs. And obviously never been to the Super Bowl. They have a good team, folks. Jared Goff's done a terrific job with this football team in creating a whole new scenario. But are they in the ballpark with the 49ers? I just don't think so. San Francisco's been there so many times. If anybody, Jake, you made reference to this, as did Alec. Teams playing on the home field, does it have that much of an advantage in the playoffs or really in any of the National Football League? Maybe early in the season it does, but at this level, no, because you've got pro football players who are accustomed to this, except for the Detroit Lions, who've never been there before. They go out and take the field in Santa Clara and probably suffer some jitters out there, and I think San Francisco is probably going to dominate them, even though this is a 49ers lineup that's banged up pretty good.
Devil's advocate, Ned. Their quarterback, though, is used to this. He's played in this environment before. Jared Goff.
Goff has, yes.
Yeah, Goff has. Mm-hmm. Alec, what's your thoughts on the NFC Championship game today?
I do think it's going to be a good game, and you just alluded to it. Goff's not only been here before to this stage and to a Super Bowl, but he's played in San Francisco.
Let's stop right there. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's start right there and kind of go back to you and Ned, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. The quarterback that is playing for the inexperienced team has the experience. The quarterback that is playing for the experienced team is inexperienced.
Can you go over that again?
Brock Purdy.
I mean,
Brock Purdy.
Can we get a chart for that?
Let me say, look, you're picking teams right now. Do you pick Brock Purdy first, or do you pick Jared Goff first?
Well,
as far as just the guy in the system, I probably would go Goff. I mean, you look at Purdy, he has been here, but it's hard to say because last year he got hurt so early and he could not throw a football. This is going to be a different game for San Francisco than it was against Philadelphia last year because they're not going to go down to their fourth and then inevitably no quarterbacks like they did last year. But, Goff will have this team. He'll know what to say to him, I feel. And Dan Campbell, the head coach, has a mentality in that squad that I don't think they're going to be afraid. I don't think they're going to be nervous. I think they're more likely to come out and punch him in the teeth. Because if you're Detroit, you've never been here before. It's all gravy, baby. This is playing with house money. Any cliche you want to use. San Francisco, we expected them to be here. Purdy's got constant pressure about system guy, not actually great quarterback, tons of pressure there. I think the pressure's on San Francisco to perform.
Go back to Ned for just a second. What do you think about that, Ned?
Well, he has a very good point, extremely good point. The pressure will be on the favored team out there, but keep in mind what they have, the weapons with McCaffrey and people like that running for them. That's a strong football team. They have Debo back in the lineup again. They'll be awfully tough to beat. Detroit's a good team, solid football team, and they deserve to be where they are. But still, first time out and in a foreign setting like that, I just think it'll be awfully difficult for them to make, over the course of a game, the consistent adjustments that have to be made. I think Frisco wins this one.
417-863-7104. Jake, what do you think about the National Football Conference championship game?
I really think that it's not going to be a game at all.
Really?
This is one of those games where San Francisco came out lucky to not have lost last week to Green Bay. Green Bay made so many mistakes, and it came down to a field goal. There was a couple of pick sixes easy by the Green Bay Packers that didn't happen. It just right through their hands, right through off their chest. And I think they're going to really hone in today, and it's not going to be a contest. I really think that San Francisco will win by double digits, and I think they'll have control of the whole game the entire time.
Really?
That is my prediction, because I really do think that I do love the coach from the Lions. He's a hard knocks kind of guy.
Dan Campbell.
And Kyle Shanahan is not that, but the experience and the talent on San Francisco, and then just what they had to endure last week, I think they're going to get their act together.
What do you think, Josh?
Let me tell you what's really going to happen. So, I think what you saw last week with Green Bay being able to and should have won that game.
100%.
What you saw were the flaws in the San Francisco 49ers. And I think part of that is Brock Purdy's inexperience. I think Detroit goes out, plays the game that they've been playing. They take advantage of the mistakes that Brock Purdy's going to make, and I think Detroit's going to win this game. And I'll tell you, one of the biggest reasons is because of their coach. That dude, nobody in that locker room is afraid, because that guy's not afraid of anybody. That's the toughest guy in any room he's in. And he has put that hard work, that mentality into that team, and they'll go out there and they don't care that it's the NFC Championship, I feel. So I think the Lions are going to win it.
Really kind of interesting take on it. These games today, I really see going either way. I really do see Ravens and 49ers possibly blowing both teams out, going to the Super Bowl, and that's what we're talking about in 2 weeks. But I also see a scenario where the Chiefs are the Chiefs. And I think the thing that people say all the time about you're not the champ until you beat the champ, that's true. Mm-hmm. And the Chiefs are the champ right now, and they've got that on their side, and they've got the experience. They've got the finger from Ned, not the one you're thinking.
The one I'm most accustomed to using?
Yes.
The fact is that in your favor and what you say is that Kansas City has the best player in the planet on their team, and he is a master at extricating Kansas City from any kind of funk that they might be in, any kind of miasma that may have affected the team. He's a genius at getting out of trouble. And Mahomes is the catalyst for Kansas City. But he's one man. Can the rest of them do it? Can a Baghdad? Mahomes is he overcomes the deficiencies in their offensive line. But how often can you do that? And how many times can you get out of difficulties?
Let me ask you guys this, and we'll go around the table and end this segment on this part. Is something that you said, Alec, struck me with the Chiefs, too. I feel like the Chiefs are playing on house money right now. And that you can say, if the Chiefs lose at the end of the day, what the Chiefs fans and what their organization could hang their hat on is go, we didn't have a very good team this year, and we made it all the way to the AFC Championship. We beat Miami. We beat Buffalo. We were in games with the best teams in the NFL. And we didn't have a star receiver. Now, you fix that with us. You make a couple of signings on the offensive line. We're unstoppable. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's a good mentality for the offseason for them. But I think right now, this team, with the amount of success they've had, I don't think they believe the house money thing. This is what they expected of themselves going into the season.
I agree with that.
And so, but And, we have to also look at, while the additions that could be made, I'm of the mind that Chris Jones is gone after this season. He's going to get more money somewhere. Someone's going to give it to him. He's already won 2 and maybe a third Super Bowl with Kansas City after this is all done. It hits a point where the scales tip from I want to win to, I won a lot. I want the more money. So, I think they need to cash. They're looking to cash in now while the iron's hot. And, they have the quarterback to do it. You alluded to it. He is the best player on the planet. But I think to why today's game is going to be so fun, while Mahomes is still who I would take, and I think he's the best on the planet, there is no one else like Lamar. I think he's more one of one at that position than anybody else for how he plays it. And it's just going to be great to watch today.
I would say that there's Christian McCaffrey too, is also a very unique talent that's here in this of the 4 teams that are left. Jake, your thoughts on house money?
I mean, the Chiefs are the reigning Super Bowl champs, and I think that the Ravens have to prove that they are the number 1 seed. There's more stress on them than on the Chiefs. So I think the Chiefs do come in. They've been there before. Let's just do this again. Run it back. That's their motto. And I do think that they're going to come out ahead. I don't know how far, but I do think that they have what it takes to do it because they are proven champs. And the Ravens haven't proved nothing, honestly. And since Lamar Jackson's been, they haven't done anything.
Yeah, Josh,
I can see that, the house money analogy, because they didn't have a great season. They lost games they should have won. We talked about it over and over again, the problems.
What's wrong with this team? That was a constant theme this year.
Yeah, it was a constant theme. And yet here they are in the AFC Championship for the 6th year in a row. So, yeah, I mean, I think if they lose today, Chiefs Kingdom will be upset, but not as upset as if they were the number 1 seed and lost. But I think, like you guys were saying, every player on that team says this is what we do every year, so we expect to do this again. So it's not house money to them, it's just kind of house money to us.
Yeah. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in the NFL with the coaching carousel, and then a topic I'm going to surprise you guys with. Come back in a minute. Ned Talk.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, part of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network.
About 17 minutes away from the start of the Chiefs pregame show. That happens right here on 104.7 The Cave. Then we'll carry the Westwood One broadcast of the game. I guess I wasn't clear about that earlier. Jake was sitting here confused, so I have to re-explain that.
I'm confused a lot, Joe.
Yeah. Westwood One broadcast, not the Chiefs broadcast of the game. It will be the Chiefs pregame and postgame shows right here on 104.7 The Cave. All right. Next year, we will see Harbaugh in triplicate. We will see Jim Harbaugh twice and John Harbaugh once on the sidelines versus the Chiefs next year. What do you think about that, Ned?
I think Harbaugh does make a big difference with the Los Angeles Chargers. He's a very sharp coach. Like him or not, the guy knows what to do. He engineered a great game plan with his coaching staff for the NCAA March to the Championship, beat Alabama, and I don't know how they did it, but they beat them, and then just ran Washington right out of the ballpark. But the fact is that Harbaugh is a very good coach. He will take that Chargers team, and I do think he makes them a contender. Not necessarily a champion, because there are a lot of breaks that have to come into play. But in terms of dealing with Justin Herbert and making him the effective quarterback that he can be, I think Harbaugh makes a big difference.
What do you think about Bill Belichick saying now it looks like 2025 before he'll be back on the sidelines again?
A year off for him wouldn't hurt him at all. A chance to refresh the batteries. He's had a couple of losing seasons now with the Patriots after 27 seasons with them. It's a good chance. Would he have been out of a job? If he wanted a job, if he really wanted one, he'd bend his demands and he would be on with somebody, not necessarily as a head coach. Andy Reid was out of work for 20 minutes when the Philadelphia Eagles let him go. But the fact is, I do think that Belichick, somewhere along the line, finds one, and it wouldn't bother me if he was out for a year or so.
Let's change gears. Here's the topic I want to surprise you guys with. I mean, it's been a very good year for the NFL. We were just sitting here talking with the microphones off about Taylor Swift, whether you like her or not, or whether you think she gets covered too much. A lot of people watching the NFL that don't normally watch the NFL. Jason Kelsey, though, bigger than she was last week, I think, in social media. But are you concerned at all about the amount of violence that seems to surround the NFL games? Is that something that you think the NFL needs to be concerned about?
Say violence around, you mean on the field or off?
No, we're seeing more at the stadiums and post-game. We're seeing more things like that happening, more stories like that happening.
You know, I feel like when you get a crowd of people together who are as passionate as sports fans are, which is the funniest thing to be passionate about because you put all of yourself into something that means nothing. But that's what makes 100%. That's what makes it so fun. But then you serve them all alcohol, and then you have a boiling pot of something ready to erupt. But I don't know. I mean, it's something all sports should be concerned about. You know, they preach about keeping things orderly to a degree. They want your fans to have fun. But there's, every game I've been to, there's up on the big screens, yep. Text this number if someone in your section's a problem.
You're being bullied.
Yeah, if things like that are happening. And ultimately, it falls on the spectators because, there's a healthy amount of smack talk and jibing you can give to fans of other teams. But there's a line, and some fan bases, more than others, have trouble identifying that line. And I don't know. I don't think anything's going to change as far as in-person sporting events. If anything were to change for those, I think it'd just be by virtue of the home experience continues to be better and cheaper than paying and going to a game in person.
Jake, you go to a lot of games, and I guess let me backtrack for just a second because I think all sports needs to be concerned about this. I mean, this is something we've seen for years in soccer.
Yeah.
It is something we saw this last year in baseball. There was a person killed at a stadium. There's been shootings outside baseball stadiums. There's been shooting outside NBA arenas. It has rolled over into the NFL season. How many fights do you typically see when you go to a live game?
It depends on the visiting. I will tell you this. It has everything to do with the visiting team's fan base. Yes, I agree with you 100%. You throw some alcohol and a bunch of guys and the tailgating that the Chiefs and Arrowhead's known for 5 hours before the game, those guys are getting loaded up. Okay. So then, of course, the other team's tailgating because the Chiefs Arrowhead parking lot situation is come one, come all. Everybody's happy and friends. But the worst is the Raiders. I've seen every time you go to a Raider game, you have to have your head on a swivel. Last week, the Bills fans throwing snowballs at the Chiefs players, you would not see that or trash being thrown at Arrowhead onto the field. So it's a boiling pot. It's one of those deals where you're mixing the perfect amount of everything that equals a fight after the game, and it does happen. It's more in the parking lot, not in the actual stadium, because inside the stadium, you get in some big-time trouble. Big time. Outside in the parking lot, it's like no holds bar. And hopefully you just get to your car and get the heck out of there.
I mean, do you feel safe when you go to the games?
I do.
Okay.
I did go to the
Ravens game.
Ravens
Well, you're a big
game.
guy. I mean, you're a big guy.
The Ravens game, I did not. And here the Chiefs lost. So imagine if the Chiefs had won. I probably would have left even earlier and that's a really rough stadium there. I saw someone goes, "Hey, where's all the Chiefs fans? What bar are you guys at?" And they're just like, "Stay home, stay in your rooms, wait till the game."
Mike, the intern, is joining us via telephone. He has an opinion on this subject. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I am.
Okay, what's your opinion? Let's hear it. Come on.
Well, I mean, after seeing the way Buffalo acted after that last game, it's uncalled for. Some of the stuff that I saw, was just outrageous. Like people basically taking Kermit the Frogs and hanging them from trees. That is just unacceptable. You'd never find that at Arrowhead. It's uncalled for. But what I think is going to end up happening is what happens in the UK with the football clubs. It got to the point where basically now you want to go watch a team at a bar, you have to be a card-carrying member of that team to go to a bar, so you don't have opposing teams in the same place beating the hell out of each other. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen.
A lot of interesting talk going on about that is, like I said, NFL we kind of singled out there, or I singled out there, but it's going on all around sports. When we come back, we'll have our picks for today's game. It's Ned Talk.
You're listening to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, part of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network. Back to Ned Talk on 104.7 The Cave, a proud member of the Kansas City Chiefs Radio Network.
I'll tell you what's a crime, those Seattle Seahawks uniforms we just saw. Oh, my gosh, they're terrible. All right, Mike, we're going to start with you. Your pick for today's games.
All right, I don't like to make predictions, so I'll tell you what I want to happen.
Okay,
I would
fair enough.
love it for the Lions to beat the 49ers.
Lions
And
beat
of course,
49ers.
To beat the Ravens so that we can end this thing like we started it in the beginning of the regular season. That would be the best thing in the world. And you know what? Like they always say, Taylor Swift, Jason Kelsey, Derek Thomas, Chiefs by 20, baby.
Chiefs by 20.
Love it.
Whoa,
Love
what a
it.
pick.
Love
All
it.
right, Ned, your turn.
So he talks about a rematch of Game 1. I'm thinking that the odds favor a rematch of Christmas night when Baltimore played San Francisco, but I'm not picking that. I'm going to pull the ultimate wuss out, as it were. Instead of picking a winner, since I can see both of them winning the game, and I can see one favored over the other, and I don't want to do that, so I'll pick a final score. And I think it'll be a little bit higher scoring than everyone expects. I'm going to think the final score will be in the neighborhood of 34 to 28. I see that as a final score. The winner will be 34. I knew you guys were questioning that.
What's your pick in the other game?
I think San Francisco wins, and probably I agree with Alec with Jake. I think it'll be in dominant fashion.
Let me ask you this question. How long have you been doing sports talk radio?
Why do you ask that?
Because it doesn't seem like you understand how it works. We're supposed to go out and make predictions and look stupid and
Maybe
do all this
supposed to, but this old man is not.
Okay, all right. He doesn't want to look dumb, okay? All right. Your choice, Alec. What do you think about today's game?
You know, looking at it on paper, everything tells me Baltimore's the better team, but Kansas City's entered that stratosphere like the Patriots were during their run. It's just when they get to this point, it's the reason I picked Alabama to beat Michigan, because once you get to this time of year, there are certain teams you just can't pick against. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go Kansas City over Baltimore, but I think it's going to be airtight. So I'm going to go 31-34 Kansas City. In the other game, as much as I love Detroit, I think their coach is going to have them ready. I think they're going to put up a fight. I think San Francisco plays better than they did last week, and I do think San Francisco wins that one. I think that one's going to be a little lower scoring, though, so I'm going to go on that one 27-23 San Francisco.
Jake, pick these games for us. I know you're picking the Chiefs.
Well, sure. So I'm going to go with the same score that they won the Super Bowl with last year, 38-35. And the other game, I'm with Ned. I'm going 34-17.
Are the Chiefs playing the Philadelphia Eagles again?
Oh, no. I wish. So, yeah, I think San Francisco is dominant, 34-17, and I think the Chiefs either have Butker for the win or our defense stops Baltimore at the very end.
What do you think, Josh?
Oh, I want the Chiefs to win. I do. I want the Chiefs to win, but Chiefs Nation, I've been predicting that the Chiefs are going to lose the last couple weeks, and they have won, so I think Baltimore is going to take them out. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a lower scoring game than everybody thinks. I think the final score will be 24-20, Baltimore. And then I think the Lions are going to surprise everybody, and they're going to win 28-20 over the San Francisco 49ers.
It is. This is hard for me. Like I said last night, and I don't have sports dreams. I'll tell you that. But last night, I dreamt twice that Kansas City got blown out in this game. I don't think that that's going to happen. I think the Chiefs are going to win this game. And I'll tell you, just like Mike said, it's a wish more than anything else. I think the Chiefs win this game. And I think Detroit wins, too, because my feeling is all the good teams that we've seen all season long, but this is my rationale for my two picks, is all the good teams that we've seen all season long have at some week or another thrown in clunkers or have been exposed in some way or another. And I'll agree with you guys. Ravens have been the most consistent team that we've seen all season long. But I think today would be a nice day for the Chiefs to expose something there. I think it's also an opportunity for Detroit to expose San Francisco, who have some obvious weaknesses, and win that game. So I'm predicting Chiefs and Lions in the big game. We're not supposed to say the SB word. It's copywritten. It's a silly thing. It's a silly thing. So there you are. There you have our picks here. I think most of us have gone with the Chiefs, and it's split between Detroit and San Francisco. We're not going to have a show next Sunday. That is a decision of the old man. He's got a previous engagement that he's involved in with the Missouri Sports Hall of Fame, right, Ned?
Correct.
And Ned is a very busy guy. Let me tell you, I sleep a lot. Ned, he drinks and does sporting events all the time. He is an incredibly busy guy.
Are you suggesting I sleep at the bar? Is that what you're doing?
No, I think you sleep in your car outside the bar. That's what that's what I suggest that you do, is that you do that. All right, guys. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. It'll either be for a Super Bowl preview, but hopefully it's for a Chiefs Super Bowl preview. Broken the copyright rule there twice. I want to say thanks to Corbin Campbell. He showed up here at a moment's notice because I was having trouble with the satellite. Nick Fury will take you through the pregame and the postgame. Mike, the intern, who's been on the phone with us this whole time, and his whole family. And I also want to thank Brian Tyndall, our general manager. Enjoy the game. Chiefs right here on 104.7 The Cave. Go Chiefs!